I was standing in my engineering management office on the 12th floor, looking out at the city skyline I had watched change over 10 years. Behind me, 12 talented engineers were typing away solving problems, building solutions. We had just finished a massive project that secured a $3 million contract for the company. I felt proud. I had climbed from junior engineer to engineering manager, built a team from scratch, and created systems that generated millions in revenue. Everything felt solid, stable, secure. I had no idea that my dedication would become my biggest liability. Before I tell you how everything fell apart in one 15-minute meeting, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe, because this story takes some unexpected turns you will not believe. My name is Alan, and I am 35 years old. Back in 2014, I walked through the doors of TechVantage Solutions as a nervous junior software engineer fresh out of college, with big dreams and zero real-world experience. The company was a mid-sized software firm with about 200 employees specializing in enterprise management systems. My starting salary was $52,000 a year, which felt like a fortune to someone who had been eating ramen noodles for 4 years straight. Those first years were brutal in the best way possible. I worked until midnight most nights, not because anyone forced me to, but because I was hungry to learn. I taught myself new programming languages on weekends. I volunteered for the projects nobody else wanted. I asked questions until my senior developers probably wanted to hide from me. But it paid off. 3 years in, I was promoted to senior engineer with a salary bump to $80,000. My manager at the time, a guy named Thomas who retired 2 years ago, told me I had something special. He said I did not just write code, I understood systems. By 2018, they made me team lead with a salary of $95,000. I was managing 3 other engineers by then, and I loved it. Teaching others, solving complex problems together, building something bigger than myself. It felt right. 2 years later, in 2020, they promoted me to engineering manager. My salary jumped to $120,000, and I was overseeing a team of 8 engineers. We were doing important work, building the backbone systems that kept the entire company running. By 2024, my team had grown to 12 people, and my salary had increased to $145,000 through regular performance reviews. I never once asked for a raise. Every increase came from annual evaluations, where my performance exceeded expectations. I had built something real. The systems I designed processed millions of transactions daily. The team I mentored had become some of the strongest engineers in the company. I had a mortgage on a small house in the suburbs. My wife Emily taught high school English. We had 2 kids, a 7-year-old daughter who loved soccer, and a 5-year-old son who was obsessed with dinosaurs. Life was not perfect, but it was good. It was mine. Then came that Thursday afternoon in September. I was reviewing code when an email popped up from Sarah in Human Resources. The subject line read, "Brief meeting, your attendance required." Listed attendees me, Sarah, and Marcus. Marcus was the new vice president of engineering who had joined us 3 months earlier from some tech company in California. I had met him exactly twice. Both times he seemed more interested in his phone than in conversation. I figured this meeting was about quarterly planning, or maybe a discussion about expanding my team. I saved my work and headed to the conference room. The room was small, cold, and felt wrong the moment I stepped inside. Sarah sat at the table with her laptop, open eyes fixed on the screen. Marcus sat across from where I would sit, hands folded, expression blank. No warm greetings, no small talk, no coffee offered. Just 3 chairs and an uncomfortable silence. I sat down. Marcus did not waste time. "Alan, we need to discuss your compensation package." I blinked, caught off guard. "Is there something wrong with my performance?" "No, your performance is fine, but your salary has become problematic. You are currently the highest paid engineering manager in the department. Higher than some directors, actually." The words hung in the air like smoke. I tried to process what I was hearing. I have been here 10 years. Every raise I received was based on performance reviews. I have never asked for more than I was given. Marcus nodded slowly, like he was a doctor delivering bad news. "I understand, but we are restructuring. The company needs to cut costs. We cannot justify your salary level anymore." My heart started pounding. I looked at Sarah, but she would not meet my eyes. "What exactly are you saying?" "We need you to take a pay reduction, back down to $95,000. "That is still a good salary, Alan. Very competitive. $50,000. He was asking me to give up $50,000. I thought about Emily and the kids. About the mortgage payment due in 2 weeks. about the dental work my daughter needed, about the car that was making that concerning noise. And if I refuse, my voice came out steadier than I felt. Sarah finally spoke, her voice small. 2 weeks' salary for every year of service. 20 weeks total. 20 weeks of severance. Roughly $56,000 before taxes. Maybe enough to survive 6 months if we were careful. But then what? Start over at 35 with a gap in my resume, and 2 kids depending on me. Marcus leaned forward. We need your decision today. That was when it hit me. This was not a negotiation. This was a firing disguised as a choice. They wanted me gone. The salary was just an excuse. I sat there for what felt like an hour, but was probably only 2 minutes running calculations in my head. 50,000 less per year would devastate us. We had built our life around my income. Emily's teacher salary was good, but not enough to carry everything alone. But more than the money, it was the principle. I had given this company 10 years. I had built systems that made them millions. I had mentored engineers who were now critical to their operations. And they were throwing me away like an outdated piece of equipment. I cannot accept a $50,000 pay cut, I said quietly. I will take the severance. Marcus nodded like he had expected exactly that answer. Understood. You have until end of day Friday to clear your desk. Sarah will process your paperwork. The meeting lasted 15 minutes. 15 minutes to end a decade. I walked out of that conference room feeling like I was moving through water. Everything looked the same but felt completely different. I went back to my office and stared at my team through the glass walls. They were laughing at something on Jake's screen, completely unaware that their manager had just been terminated. I drove home that evening in silence. Emily knew something was wrong the moment I walked through the door. I told her everything while our kids watched cartoons in the next room. She held my hand across the kitchen table and said what I needed to hear. We will figure this out. We always do. But I could see the worry in her eyes. We both knew $56,000 would not last long. That night, lying in bed, I made a decision. I would not burn bridges. I would not badmouth the company. I would not make a scene. I would pack my things, say goodbye to my team, and leave with dignity. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was denial. But I refused to let them see me broken. Friday morning arrived too fast. I got to the office at 7, before most people, wanting to avoid the crowd. My office felt like a museum suddenly full of artifacts from a life I was leaving behind. There were photos of Emily and the kids in cheap frames, technical books with worn spines and highlighted passages. My favorite coffee mug, the one that said "World's Okayest Manager" that Jake had given me as a joke last Christmas. A framed certificate for Employee of the Year from 2019, back when the company still did that kind of thing. I found a cardboard box in the supply closet and started packing. Each item felt heavier than it should. I pulled down the photos first, wrapping them carefully in paper. The books went in next, those guides to system architecture and management theory that I had studied like religious texts. I was reaching for my plant, a stubborn succulent that had somehow survived my neglect when I heard footsteps. My team started arriving around 8. Within an hour, everyone knew. Marcus had sent a company-wide email the night before, something vague about organizational changes and my decision to pursue other opportunities. Corporate speak for fired. The engineers came by one at a time. Most did not know what to say. A few hugged me. Several looked angry. One of the senior developers, a woman named Patricia, who had been with the company almost as long as me, just shook her head and walked away. I knew she was furious on my behalf. Jake, the youngest engineer on my team at 26, came into my office around 10. His eyes were red. "This is garbage," he said, his voice shaking. "You trained me. You gave me a chance when everyone else said I was too inexperienced. You are the best manager I have ever had." I smiled despite everything. "You are going to be fine, Jake. Better than fine. Keep learning. Keep asking questions. Keep challenging yourself. That is what matters." "It is not fair," he said. "No," I agreed. "It is not. But life rarely is. The question is what you do with unfairness. You can let it make you bitter, or you can let it make you stronger." I believed those words when I said them, even though my own bitterness was still fresh and raw. Marcus appeared around noon, standing in the doorway of my office, but not entering. He watched me tape up the box. We made eye contact for a moment. I wanted to say so many things. I wanted to ask why. I wanted to tell him what a mistake this was. Instead, I just nodded. He nodded back and disappeared. By 1 in the afternoon, my desk was empty. Just a clean surface and an unplugged monitor. I handed my access badge and keys to Sarah in Human Resources. She processed me out of the system, while I sat there becoming a former employee in real time. No exit interview. No thank you for your service. Just forms to sign and a check for my severance. 20 weeks. Roughly $56,000. It felt like nothing and everything at the same time. I carried my box through the office one last time. A few people waved. Most looked away, uncomfortable with witnessing my departure. The elevator ride down felt eternal. I loaded the box into my car, looked up at the building, and drove away. 10 years condensed into one cardboard box and a severance check. I did not cry. I was too numb for that. The first week after losing my job was strange. I slept late. I played with my kids more. I helped Emily grade papers. I pretended everything was fine while my mind spun in circles replaying that meeting, searching for warning signs I had missed. The second week, I updated my resume and started looking at job postings. The market was competitive. Lots of people with my experience were looking for work. I sent out applications and heard nothing back. Then on a Tuesday evening during my third week of unemployment, my phone buzzed with a text from Jake. "Alan, you need to know something. I am sorry I did not tell you sooner. I was afraid I would lose my job too." I called him immediately. "What is going on?" Jake sounded stressed. "They already replaced you, before they even fired you. Marcus brought in someone from his old company. His name is Derek. They announced him as the new engineering manager yesterday." My stomach dropped. "Wait, what? It gets worse," Jake continued. I overheard Sarah and Marcus talking in the break room. "Derek is making $160,000, $15,000 more than you were making." The world tilted. I sat down heavily on the couch. "They fired me for earning too much, then hired someone with a higher salary. Derek is not even that experienced," Jake said. "He was a senior engineer at Marcus's last company, never managed anyone. He is younger than you, maybe 30, and he definitely does not understand our systems. Everyone is confused why he is here." After we hung up, I sat there in the dark living room, processing what I had just learned. This was not about money. This was never about money. Marcus had wanted to bring in one of his people and I was in the way. So he invented a reason to get rid of me. The salary was just an excuse they thought sounded legitimate. Nepotism wrapped in corporate efficiency. I felt like I had been punched in the chest. The betrayal was not just being fired, it was being lied to. It was the insult of them thinking I was stupid enough not to find out the truth. Emily found me sitting there an hour later, and I told her everything. She was quiet for a long time, then said, "You are better than them. This will come back on them. You watch." I wanted to believe her, but mostly I just felt tired. 2 weeks after Derek took over my position, Jake texted me again. This time with more news, none of it good for TechVantage. The production systems were experiencing errors. Critical errors that were causing downtime for clients. One of their biggest customers, a manufacturing company with a contract worth $1,200,000 annually, was reporting service disruptions almost daily. Derek was trying to fix things, but making them worse because he did not understand the architecture I had spent years building. Marcus was panicking. He had ordered the team to work overnight to resolve issues, but nobody on the team understood the full system the way I did. I had documented everything meticulously, but documentation can only teach you so much. Some knowledge comes from experience, from building something piece by piece, from understanding not just how it works, but why it works that way. Then Brian, one of my senior engineers, quit. He had been with the company 8 years, and could not handle Derek's management style and the increasing pressure. 2 other engineers turned in their resignation letters within a week. The team I had spent years building was falling apart. "It is a nightmare," Jake told me over the phone. "Derek keeps blaming us for not documenting things properly. But you did document everything. He just does not understand it. And Marcus will not admit they made a mistake hiring him." I felt bad for my old team, but I was not surprised. You cannot replace institutional knowledge overnight, especially not with someone who has never done the job before. 4 weeks after I was fired, the major client threatened to cancel their contract. They cited declining service quality and increasing system instability. That contract was huge for TechVantage. Losing it would hurt their quarterly numbers badly. I heard all of this through Jake, who kept me updated like I was getting a newsletter on their impending disaster. Then on a Thursday evening around 9 o'clock, I received an email from Marcus. The subject line read, "Urgent, need your help." I stared at it for a full minute before opening it. "Alan, I apologize for how things ended. I realize now that we made some errors in judgment regarding the transition. The company is experiencing some technical difficulties with the systems you built. Derek is working hard, but there is a learning curve. Our major client is threatening to leave, and this could cost us significantly. Would you be willing to come back as a consultant to help us stabilize things? We can discuss compensation. Please let me know as soon as possible." I read it 3 times. The apology was hollow, corporate language designed to avoid admitting fault. But the desperation was real. They needed me. The same person they had decided was too expensive, just a month ago. I did not respond that night. I let the email sit there while I thought. Marcus called me directly that Saturday morning. I was having coffee in my kitchen when my phone rang. I almost did not answer. But curiosity got the better of me. "Alan, please. We need you." His voice was strained, none of the cool confidence from that meeting where he fired me. "The system is falling apart. Derek cannot handle it. Our biggest client is threatening to leave. This could cost us millions." I sipped my coffee and said nothing, letting him fill the silence. "I will pay you as a consultant. Name your rate. We need you for at least 3 months to stabilize everything and train Derek properly." "What happened to cutting costs?" I asked calmly. "What happened to my salary being too high?" He hesitated. "That was a mistake in judgment. We underestimated the complexity of what you built." "You mean you wanted to bring in your friend? And I was in the way." He did not deny it. The silence on the line confirmed everything. "Please, can we move past that? We need your expertise. Name your rate." I thought about Emily and the kids, about the severance money that was slowly running out, about job applications that had gone nowhere. But I also thought about dignity and self-respect, about what I was worth. "Let me think about it. I will call you back Monday morning." Monday. But we need an answer now. We need you to start immediately. "Monday morning," I repeated. "Take it or leave it." I hung up before he could respond. That weekend, Emily and I talked through everything. She was practical as always. "You deserve better than they treated you. But this could be a good opportunity if you handle it right. Make them pay for what they did." Literally. Sunday night, I drafted a proposal. 5 conditions non-negotiable. First, my rate would be $200 per hour. That was double the normal consulting rate for someone with my experience. Second, minimum 3-month contract payment due at the beginning of each month. No payment, no work. Third, completely remote. I would not set foot in their office. Fourth, Marcus had to publicly apologize to the engineering team for how my termination was handled. And fifth, if the systems were stable after 3 months, and Derek still could not handle the job, I got to recommend his replacement and receive a finder's fee of $15,000. Monday morning at exactly 9 o'clock, I called Marcus back. I read him my terms slowly and clearly. He was quiet until I finished. $200 per hour is very expensive. You said name my rate. That is my rate. 3 months minimum means roughly $96,000 total. Still less than you are paying Derek for a full year, and I actually know what I am doing. More silence. I need to talk to the CFO. You do that. These terms are valid until 5 o'clock today. After that, the rate goes up to $250 per hour. 1 hour later, Marcus called back. They agreed to everything except the public apology. I held firm. All conditions or no deal. You humiliated me when you fired me. The least you can do is acknowledge it. Your team deserves to know the truth. He argued for 10 minutes. I did not budge. Finally, he agreed. Fine. All conditions. When can you start? As soon as the first month's payment clears my bank account. The contract was signed by Tuesday. The payment hit my account Wednesday morning. $32,000 for month 1, based on an estimate of 40 hours per week. I set up remote access to their systems Thursday and started work Friday. What I found was worse than I expected. Derek had made changes that broke fundamental parts of the architecture. He had tried to implement quick fixes without understanding the underlying dependencies. It was like watching someone perform surgery with a hammer. I spent the first week just assessing the damage and creating a repair plan. Working from home was perfect. I set up a desk in our spare bedroom. No commute. No office politics. Just me and the code. I worked about 50 hours that first week, which translated to $10,000. Derek tried to schedule meetings with me, constantly wanting me to explain everything. I kept those meetings short. I was not there to train him. I was there to fix what he broke. Within 2 weeks, I had resolved most of the critical issues. The major client saw immediate improvement and withdrew their threat to cancel. Marcus sent me a grateful email that I deleted without responding. I was not doing this for gratitude. I was doing it for the money and for my own professional pride. Those systems were my legacy, and I was not going to let them die because of incompetent management decisions. 3 weeks into my contract, Marcus scheduled a video call with the entire engineering team. The meeting invitation included a note that attendance was mandatory. I joined from my home office camera off. The team was all there on screen. I could see Jake, Patricia, the others. They looked tired. Marcus cleared his throat. I called this meeting because I need to address something. When Alan left the company, it was not handled well. The truth is, we made a poor decision. It was not about his performance or his value to this organization. Alan built the systems we rely on. He trained most of you, and we should have recognized that before making changes. I apologize for how it was handled. We are fortunate that Alan agreed to help us through this crisis as a consultant. It was not a great apology. His tone was stiff, like he was reading from a script. But it was public. It was on record. I saw several team members nodding. Jake was smiling. That was enough. Over the next 2 months, I did not just fix the systems. I rewrote documentation to be even clearer. I created video tutorials for common maintenance tasks. I held training sessions for the team, teaching them things I had never had time to teach before, but I deliberately excluded Derek from most of these sessions. I trained the team, not the manager who had replaced me. By month 3, the systems were running better than they had in years. Client complaints had dropped to almost 0. The team's morale was recovering, and Derek, realizing he was completely out of his depth and that everyone knew it, turned in his resignation. He had lasted exactly 3 months. Marcus called me the day after Derek quit. "We need a new engineering manager. Would you consider coming back?" I laughed. Actually laughed. No. I have received several offers from other companies, but I can recommend someone excellent for this position. I suggested Brian, the senior engineer, who had quit during the Derek disaster. Brian had the experience and the technical knowledge. More importantly, he had proven he would not tolerate bad management. Marcus was desperate enough to agree. They offered Brian the engineering manager position at $130,000. Brian accepted. Per my contract, I received a $15,000 finder's fee. In 3 months as a consultant, I made $96,000 from my hourly rate, plus $15,000 from the finder's fee. $111,000 total. More than I would have made in an entire year as their employee. And I did it while working from home in comfortable clothes, with 0 commute, and complete control over my schedule. Better still, during those 3 months, I had been interviewing with other companies. A larger firm, a real industry leader, offered me a position as director of engineering. The salary was $180,000 annually. Fully remote, better benefits, larger team, more interesting challenges. I accepted. My last day consulting for TechVantage was on a Friday, exactly like the day they fired me. But this time I was the one choosing to leave. I sent Marcus a professional email thanking him for the opportunity and wishing the company well. I meant none of it, but professionalism mattered. That evening I met Jake and Brian and a few other engineers from my old team for dinner. We went to a small Italian restaurant, the kind with checkered tablecloths and candles in wine bottles. Over pasta and wine, they filled me in on everything I had missed. Marcus was still there, but his reputation had taken a serious hit. Upper management knew about the Derek situation. They knew Marcus had fired a valuable employee to bring in an unqualified friend, and it had nearly cost them a major client. He was not getting promoted anytime soon. "You handled everything with so much class," Jake said, raising his glass. "You could have burned the whole place down. Instead, you walked away with your head high and made them pay for their mistake. That is the kind of professional I want to be." I clinked glasses with him. Sometimes the best revenge is not revenge at all. It is just living well and proving your value. The first few weeks at my new job were exciting. Scary, but exciting. The company was 3 times larger than TechVantage. My team consisted of 30 engineers spread across different time zones. The technology was cutting edge. The problems were complex, and every day felt like learning something new. It was challenging in ways I had forgotten work could be. But more than the work, I felt reborn. For years at TechVantage, I had been comfortable. Comfortable is good in some ways, but it is also dangerous. Comfortable makes you stop growing. Comfortable makes you forget your value. Getting fired, as terrible as it felt in the moment, forced me out of that comfort zone. It forced me to remember that I was capable of more than I had been settling for. Emily noticed the change too. "You smile more now," she said one morning over coffee. "Even with all the chaos, you seem happier." She was right. The bitterness I had felt after being fired had faded. Not because time healed all wounds or any of that cliched nonsense, but because I had taken control of my story. I had not let Marcus or TechVantage define my worth. I had proven to myself and everyone else that I was valuable because of what I brought to the table, not because of how long I had warmed a chair. Looking back on everything, I learned lessons that no business school could have taught me. The first lesson was about loyalty. Companies love to talk about loyalty. They put it in their value statements and their recruitment materials, but loyalty is a one-way street in corporate America. You can give a company 10 years of your life, and they will let you go in 15 minutes if it serves their interests. Your value is not measured by your loyalty. It is measured by what you contribute and what you can contribute tomorrow. The second lesson was about dignity. When they fired me, I could have made a scene. I could have sent angry emails to everyone in the company. I could have talked them on social media, or tanked my exit interview. But I chose to leave with dignity. That decision paid off in ways I could not have predicted. People remember how you handle adversity far more than they remember your successes. Jake still messages me asking for career advice. Patricia referred me to her network, which led to 2 more job offers. Even some people at TechVantage, who I barely knew, have reached out impressed by how I handled everything. The third lesson was about opportunity hiding in crisis. Getting fired felt like my world ending. I had a mortgage, kids' bills, responsibilities. The fear was real and suffocating. But that crisis forced me to see beyond my comfortable corner of the world. It pushed me to explore opportunities I would never have considered otherwise. Sometimes you need to be shoved out of the nest to remember you can fly. The fourth lesson was about justice. Not the legal kind or the cosmic kind, but the practical kind. Marcus thought he could replace me cheaply with a friend and save the company money. Instead, it cost them far more. They lost productivity. They nearly lost a major client. They paid me more as a consultant in 3 months than I would have cost them as an employee for half a year. They had to give Brian a raise to lure him back. The truth has a way of revealing itself even when people try to bury it under corporate speak and restructuring announcements. I still think about that Thursday afternoon sometimes. About sitting in that cold conference room and hearing that my decade of work was worth less than their budget concerns. About the choice between my dignity and my desperation. I made the right choice, but it did not feel right at the time. It felt terrifying. If you are watching this and you have been in a similar situation, or if you are there right now, I want you to know something. Your worth is not defined by one company's decision. Your value is not measured by whether someone decides to keep you or let you go. Companies make mistakes all the time. They fire talented people for stupid reasons. They promote the wrong people. They choose politics over performance. That is their failure, not yours. Keep your head up. Keep your integrity intact. Do not burn bridges even when you are angry. The professional world is smaller than you think, and people talk. Your reputation is your most valuable asset. Protect it even when others do not deserve your professionalism. And when the opportunity comes to prove them wrong, and it will come, take it. But do it with class. Not because they deserve your grace, but because you deserve to be the kind of person who rises above pettiness. The best response to being undervalued is not bitterness or revenge. It is success. It is building something better. It is proving that their decision was their loss, not yours. So let me ask you, have you ever been fired or pushed out of a job unfairly? How did you handle it? Drop a comment below and share your story. If this video resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this with someone who might need to hear it today. Someone who is going through their own career crisis and needs to know they are not alone. Thank you for watching. And remember, your value does not decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. Stay strong, stay professional, and keep moving forward. Better things are waiting for you.